Hey, what's up everybody? Matt here coming at you with another indicator video. And this one is going to be on the Maverick supporter, or the supporter for short. And as the name implies, this one is great for finding levels of support and resistance in the market. And so I'm assuming most of you are at least a little bit familiar with what support and resistance is. But if not, it's pretty much exactly like the name implies. It's levels of support. So we can see here we have a level of support right here. And if I go ahead and just draw this out real quick, that this is acting like a price floor. So that's another way to think about it, is a floor and a ceiling. So we can see here that this was a level of support until it broke it right there. And then actually when price broke that level, it then kind of acted as a level of resistance, or a ceiling, where price is having a hard time breaking out of. And then now we have a new level of support right here. And I bet you if price gets down to this level right here, it should struggle at least at the very beginning to break it, just based on this alone. But anyway, so that's what our indicator, or that's the main thing that this indicator does, is it actually does all of this pretty much for you. Because especially if you're new to trading and you're just looking at a chart, it can be pretty challenging sometimes to tell exactly what is support and exactly what is resistance. And while our indicator, not necessarily 100% perfect, but it does a very, very good job of outlining that for you and making it just really quick and easy for anybody to be able to tell where support and resistance really is. So I already have it on my chart. It's currently not visible, but I'm going to go ahead and show this. And we can see here we get a bunch of zigzag lines and green and red lines, horizontal lines. And so you might already be picking up on this, and you know what's going on here. Maybe you're already way ahead and you've been using this indicator and you love it. But if not, I'm going to go ahead and kind of break this down. So these red or green and red zigzag lines, all that is really, it's just a zigzag line that's being drawn from essentially one move up to the connecting move down. Uh, Charts or markets tend to move in that sort of zigzag pattern. And so it's a great way, if any of you are familiar with like Elliott wave theory or ABCD patterns, it's a great way to be able to kind of sketch that out, or actually be able to see that without having to sketch that out. But really the reason why we've added it to this indicator is because, in my mind, it's a great way of connecting the dots between support and resistance. And so we can see here, we also have these red and green lines. And, I'm sure it's probably pretty obvious to you, but the green line is support and the red lines are resistance. One other thing that I do want to mention before we move forward. When you first add this to your chart, you probably will want to actually right click and go into settings and uncheck this box. I already have it unchecked, but for you, when you first open it, it'll probably be checked. And what this is it's the last value line. It's where the price currently is. The reason why I want to remove that, and it's totally optional, up to you if you want to do it, but for me, I get a little bit confused when I see this line and I confuse it with support and resistance. I don't want to do that. I want to just remove it because I know where price is. Price is right there. If sometimes I might want to add it back, but for the most part, I just go into settings, or right click, go into settings, and uncheck that box, and that'll remove that. So now I got a clean chart. And again, so it's probably pretty obvious, but the green line, in this case, there's just one, but if there were multiple, any of the green lines are going to be acting as support, and the red lines are going to be acting as resistance. So easy enough there. These lines will automatically change colors based on where price is. So if price moves up to right here, this line will turn green, or it might even disappear, because this indicator does automatically adjust, based on the new direction of what's happening with price. Because if we go back here, these lines no longer apply, right? You can't really back test this indicator per se, because I'm looking at historical data here. Really what this indicator is doing is taking the last, let's call it, I don't know, maybe I don't know in this particular case, but it's not, it's maybe we could say it's starting from right here going forward. So and it has to do that just based on, getting the last levels of support and resistance. We actually can go in and kind of adjust this here based on the left and right pivot. So if you wanted to maybe take more recent sort of levels, we can do like put in here smaller numbers, and then it'll actually change this and give us kind of like a more recent price history in terms of its calculation for levels of support and resistance. So we can see it actually changes quite a lot. And this is something that you're going to want to play with a little bit and find the right settings for you. And it by the way, it'll be different. So right now I'm looking at a 4-hour chart. If I was looking at a shorter time frame, I would play around with these numbers a bit. Even on the same time frame, I'll play around with multiple numbers to try to sort of see things from a different angle, if you will. So that's just something to be aware of. But I think by default it's going to be 50 and 100, which should work pretty well for most cases. Again, just something you want to play around with and get comfortable with. But the way that you would trade this is pretty simple and self-explanatory. Basically, I love to find instances where this red line is aligning perfectly with the level of support right here. And again, this is historical, so this is probably not the best example, but let's look at the current situation, what's going on. So right now, price is obviously broken this level of support, so now it's acting as resistance. And we actually have a new level of support right here. And it's not being shown by this indicator, but actually, if we go into settings and I click show pivots, then we'll get it. And then we can see actually some of the shorter, what I call pivots, or you could call them shorter support and resistance. But we can actually see here a line that's being drawn that's acting as this. So this is going to be acting as support right there. And again, I'll draw this manually so you can see. But that's going to be a level of support, and price is going to have a little bit of a hard time breaking out of or breaking below this level. However, we're also in a downtrend. A bit of a downtrend. We're making lower lows. And so that's just another thing to be aware of. So obviously, I'm not going to get into the whole ideology behind how to trade this specifically. And by the way, you don't want to really just trade off support and resistance alone. You want to look at a multitude of different factors. And I know I probably sound like a broken record at this point saying this in probably every video, but it's true of any indicator. There's no one size fits all indicator. At least not that I've seen. Any indicator you want to use in conjunction with other tools, even if it's just your own judgment. So even if I'm just looking at this and I'm going, okay, here's what I see. I see lower lows, lower highs. And so, maybe I want to be cautious entering into a long position against the trend or counter trend. Just something to be aware of. So anyway, even though I actually think that most of you will find this indicator to be probably, to be honest, the number one, most powerful indicator that you'll use, and the reason why I say that is I think support and resistance is probably the best way to trade. It just has the highest probability of success in my mind, and other people might disagree with me on that, and feel free to if you're on the other side of the fence there. But I love support and resistance, and especially these horizontal levels right here. It just, to me, makes it super easy. But moving on here, I'll get off my soapbox. The next thing that we have is dynamic support and resistance. So what is that? Let me clean up my chart a bit here. And you could take these all off or leave them if you want. But what dynamic support and resistance is, it's a way for you to tell where the resistance is going to be when there's no real clear level. So like we saw earlier here, we have a huge gap now, in between these two levels. That's a huge gap. That's, probably, what is it? Like 600 pips. And so I have no idea, and I'm kind of being facetious, but it's I have no idea what to do because there's no clear level here. I can trade this range all day long, but once it breaks below this range, it's hard for me to understand where the levels of support and resistance is. And so that's where dynamic support and resistance comes in to play. And I can see here, I have this sort of continual level of resistance that I could enter in short positions on. Maybe if price gets somewhere in this region here, I might, be tempted to enter in a short, because it's in that level of dynamic resistance. We also have dynamic support, obviously, on the way on an upward trend. So again, you could look to enter in long positions here at touches of that dynamic support. Again, just another thing to sort of play around with and find your footing on it and see what you like to use. And that's pretty much it when it comes to this indicator. Um, you can adjust the zigzag lines as well. So you could play around with that. To be honest, I have not really done that. I just sort of leave it as default. You could turn it off as well. That's something that you wanted to do. Again, I can't, I think, speak to it enough to say how powerful I think this indicator really is. One of the ways that I use it, and just real quick, and then I'll wrap up this video, but I kind of use it as a scanner in a way. Like if you've ever used a scanner before, you're scanning the market, right? You're looking at all these different forex pairs. Let's do USD to CAD, and I want to see where is this, and I actually already had some resistance here drawn, but and then I might want to adjust. We can see here, actually, this is a good example of when I would want to adjust these levels, because this is actually not very helpful for me. So we can see we had a really strong breakout of resistance here, and the indicator has kind of not caught up in a way. It's lagging behind. So I want to adjust and play around with these numbers to get it to where it's a bit more relevant. Here we go. So perfect. So this is actually a perfect example, and I'm glad I caught this. This was not intentional, but that was just a quick example of me playing around with the numbers, and now I've got something that's actually telling me something. So again, clear levels of support right here and right here. It's already broken this level of support right here, this shorter term level. So I'd maybe wait until price gets down to here to take a potential long position. That's not something I would have necessarily seen super easily or maybe as clearly if I was just looking at the chart without the supporter indicator on it. I mean, I can see fairly clearly, but I don't know. You guys let me know, or let us know what you think. But for me, these lines, it gives me a blueprint or a format for which I can actually base trading decisions based off support and resistance. So anyway, I hope that's helpful for you guys, and definitely let us know. Give us a message on Facebook if you have any questions about using this indicator. Try to keep the settings as simple and easy to use as possible. You can also play around with some of the styling here. But other than that, I think that's it for now. And yeah, like I said, shoot us a message if you have any questions.